So here is the most important question, okay, of today. The future of social selling. Okay, we are approaching 2020. Where LinkedIn is evolving to in 2020. What are your predictions about LinkedIn and where it is evolving to?
Well, I don't have a crystal ball, so let me preface that.
Okay.
I Here's what I think is the constant, okay? First of all, LinkedIn's not going away. It's just going to
Of
grow.
course. Of
Number
course.
two, I think they have no competition. If you really look at the social platforms that are
Alignable. Yeah.
100% focused on business, it's LinkedIn, hands down.
Yes.
So number three, people go to LinkedIn for business. They don't go for the same reasons they would go to Facebook.
Hmm.
So all of that said, what do I think they're going to do? I think they will continue to, you know, add features.
Okay.
LinkedIn is, I will say this about them, they're behind all the social platforms in terms of functionality of their features.
Hmm.
That probably won't change because they
Right.
just move slow,
Right.
but they're constant. So what is the future of social selling? I think to answer your question, the future is isn't going to change, in my opinion, in terms of how we build lasting relationships.
Hmm.
It's a tool, it's just a tool, right? To
Right.
find people that you want to build relationship with. So the
Right.
bigger piece here is the tool will probably get better and more refined, but what are you going to do with that tool?
Correct.
Social selling piece is, how do I learn about people I want to get to know that I can build a long-term relationship with? That's the
Right.
simplest way I can explain that.
Absolutely. I actually expected that you would talk something about in-mails and things like that, by which, by the way, I don't like the concept of in-mail that much. They only give you very little in-mail and you can't upgrade. I mean, you cannot buy more of them. Or even if you do in-mail, I mean, the results from that is, and there is the sponsored in-mail inside LinkedIn paid feature. Even that, I get a lot of messages, but I hardly take action on them.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
so anyway, InMail I think needs some refinement in terms of its functionality.
I think there's a lot of things that need refinement on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
but I'm not one of those LinkedIn trainers that bashes LinkedIn. I think it's a great platform. It is what
Yes,
it is. You know,
absolutely, absolutely.
so you either can criticize it
Embrace.
or leverage what is
Embrace.
there,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely, yes. Great, great, great. So I was also, getting a lot of news on LinkedIn, about LinkedIn coming down hard, on people who are using automated tools and things like that, and also LinkedIn sending out email notices to people who share their LinkedIn credentials for others to
Mhm.
use, on their behalf. So these two are the things which I have noticed very recently that LinkedIn has taken very seriously. What are your take on that?
I think you're right. I think they have taken a serious stand on third-party platforms that people use to auto search and
Hmm.
auto invite people to their network.
Correct.
It's against their terms and conditions, number one. And number two, they're starting to crack down on it. They hadn't for a long time,
Yes.
but you and I have had this conversation before. I've never been a fan of third-party tools because I think you can't outsource building real relationships.
Right, right, right. Absolutely.
And, it takes time and it takes effort and it's a long-term strategy. So I think you are going to see more of accounts getting shut down. I've heard some of my colleagues tell me they've had clients whose accounts are getting shut down
Right.
using automated tools. So
Right.
that's not going to go away. I would tell you, if you are using them, your time is coming where you are going to get in trouble for that.
Absolutely. But, the cracking down on sharing your credentials with a VA or your personal assistant, that is not warranted, isn't it? Like for a very busy executive to delegate that task of,
Yeah,
responding or something like that to their personal assistant, that shouldn't be a.
I agree with that because one of the things I do in my business is I create and write people's profiles for them, and I have to log into their account.
Right.
That could be a problem for me in the future. And so I
Yes.
don't agree with that either. Um, I think that's a bad policy on their part
Right.
because I don't disagree either with having a virtual assistant, for example, doing some things for you.
Right.
I don't have a problem with that. And
Like
so,
accepting connections and
yeah,
sending birthday note, wishes or thank you notes or whatever it is, like that shouldn't be too bad, but still, like it is what it is. Uh, at least they don't shut the account down, they just send a warning email.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not very happy about that
Yeah.
either. So we'll see where that goes.
Right.
I think the best thing that those of us can do is to message LinkedIn and tell them, give them some feedback that,
Right.
that you disagree with that. That's the best
Right.
thing we could
Absolutely.
do.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great. So, JoAnne, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a checklist for an actionable checklist, that our audience can download based on the conversation, because sometimes it is so easy to listen to this podcast while traveling in the car and
Yeah,
things like that. But
I
uh,
agree.
yeah, I just wanted to say that to all my audience here, that you can come back to this episode and you can download a checklist, and you can, tick them off and make sure that you implement the advice that JoAnne has shared with us, and take action. And how can my audience reach out to you in case they have questions?
So they can go to my website, which
Uh-huh.
is linkedinforbusiness.net.
Okay.
They can find me there. They can find me on LinkedIn at JoAnne Funch. And they can certainly email me at joanne@linkedinforbusiness.net.
Perfect. Perfect. And would you like to give away any special gift to our audience
I,
if they want
I,
to?
yeah, I did create a really great resource. I think it's a great resource that would be helpful to them, and it's all about 7 ways to transform your network from a database to valued relationships. And
Perfect.
and they can find that at linkedinforbusiness.net/podcast.
Perfect. Perfect. I'll for sure leave the notes, show notes, below the episode. And I can't thank you enough, JoAnne, for being such a great host, sorry, such a great guest
Oh,
on
you're
this
welcome.
podcast, and also for being such a wonderful mentor to me and so many others who are
Oh.
trying to crack the LinkedIn code. Great.
Oh, well, thank you for that, RK. I really appreciate chatting with you, and that's very nice of you to say that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And I hope that our paths will cross in future. Thank you.
Absolutely.